The Messenger is a game that at first glance seems heavily based off Ninja Gaiden, and even tries to make you think that at the beginning. However, the game is full of twists and surprises. Not all of them good, but it is still an amazing experience overall. The game looks like a Ninja Gaiden clone. Even if that were true, it's certainly not an insult. Despite critical and consumer acclaim, the NES Ninja Gaiden series is still majorly underrated, and it is a pleasure to see games that take inspiration from it. I'll go into the inspirations and mechanics a little later on, but I would like to first say that the game is a blast to play. It gets mostly the physics and controls right as compared to Ninja Gaiden. Moving through a level in a variety of ways and slicing enemies is a blast. The locations are fun to traverse, there's a larger amount of abilities to master, and the music is always bopping. The 8-bit art style alone is great, forget that there is a 16-bit art style to mirror it. And the story and writing is genuinely funny in a tongue-in-cheek sort of way. As a player, you are rewarded many times to push to the limits of the game, and you will be rewarded with a new technique that you did not think was possible, or a funny clip of dialogue. Gameplay mechanics. The game starts off with basic Ninja Gaiden-like movements. You have the ability to somersault, with the height of the jump tied to the length of the button press, with an arc and speed fine-tuned for quick action and lightning reflexes. The ability to choose a direction mid-somersault and instantly slash and destroy enemies with precision is extremely satisfying. Besides for the regular sword slashes and crouching sword slashes, you have the ability to swing the sword while running, which was not possible in Ninja Gaiden, and I'll go into a little more detail about that later. The Messenger has the ninja-like ability to cling to walls and even climb them, like in Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3, throw shooting stars, and much more. Before we get into the rest of the moves that the Messenger has, I would like to get into the comparisons with Ninja Gaiden. As I stated before, in Ninja Gaiden, you can't swing your sword and run at the same time. So every time you attack, unless you are in the air, you will have to be stationary. This makes making your sword swing a bit more committal, as you can't move your character to correct for your timing. The risk involved in swinging your sword is much greater and more precision is needed, all just for a sword swing. That makes enemies a bit more satisfying to destroy in Ninja Gaiden. Hearing the pop of an enemy after a well-placed sword slice is great. In the Messenger, however, swinging your sword is a bit more spammable, where you can mostly just keep pressing the attack button without too much worry. However, which mechanic you choose, there is no wrong choice if done correctly. It's just that you have to build a level design around to suit each playstyle. The Messenger asks the player to do a bit more in terms of platforming than just destroy an enemy, and the quicker sword slash helps you complete the many zany platforming challenges that the Messenger has to offer. Besides for how you slash, the size of the sword slash is different. The Messenger took inspiration from the power-up in Ninja Gaiden 3 and post-2D games, where it seems like there is an energy/wind around the sword that makes the hitbox much bigger. This is a big deal. Besides for a longer horizontal range on the attack, there's a large hitbox on the vertical side as well. This makes hitting flying enemies, smaller enemies, projectiles, and hitting enemies while landing or jumping much easier. The power-up in Ninja Gaiden makes a big difference. It saves you so many times from when a sneaky projectile is coming at you, or when you are trying to land and then there's an enemy in your way. Besides for the basic sword attacks, we get into one of the main hooks and mechanics of the Messenger, the double jump or cloud step as it's called, where a player will get a second jump after you are able to hit something. This isn't a one-time thing. If you jump, hit something, jump, then if you hit something again, you can jump another time. You can do this infinitely, and although you only have one extra jump at a time, you can stay in the air forever. Many obstacles require you to use your double jump to reach places that you would normally not be able to reach, or stay in the air for a long period of time. That, along with, spoilers, 3, 2, 1, a grappling hook and glider, makes the locomotion, level design, and challenge of the game zippy, fast, and fun. There was many times while I was dodging enemy fire, switching between gliding and falling, choosing specifically either the glide or fall attack, trying to keep the Messenger in the air long enough for an enemy to come to a specific location so I can get a collectible or skip through a part in a small shortcut. When I first started the game, I immediately noticed something was different to what I was used to in Ninja Gaiden. Besides for attacking while running, I noticed that you could not hit projectiles. I thought this was a huge misstep. Besides for the fact that Ninja Gaiden requires you to hit projectiles, mixing that with the cloud stepping, which I just have learned in the previous tutorial, could have mixed well, creating some crazy and cool movement scenarios and challenges. I was also not able to shoot any projectiles, and I was wondering what was going on. Then I got into the shop and saw the skill tree. The first thing I bought, without really looking into the other things, was the ability to hit projectiles. As soon as I did that, I was moving a lot quicker and was having much more fun. Right away, I did not like the idea of having a shop in Ninja Gaiden or in a Ninja Gaiden-like game. And after purchasing the ability to hit projectiles, I was wondering how unfortunate new players would be without that ability. At first glance, it does not seem that useful. Maybe more health would seem better, but I think players would have enjoyed the game more if they had that ability from the start. I know the developers needed to fill the store up with some things, but I'm not sure if putting in skills was the best way to do it. Maybe songs or cosmetics would have been better suited for the store. Now, for the completely new mechanics that are added throughout the story, like the glider, hookshot, and the ability to run in the water. Besides for them being programmed exceptionally well and meshing well with the mechanics of the game, I'm not sure how I feel about them being added later on and not given to you from the start. Yes, it was great to be pushed to the limit of your cloud saving abilities before you get the glider, and I definitely appreciate that. But on the same side, I thought that the game was a bit too easy leading up to the second half of the game anyway. Maybe a more organic way for introducing the new mechanics would have been better, but this really leads to the next part of the review and the game, the second half. If they're going through what seems to be the length of a Ninja Gaiden game, although much easier, you get into the other twist of the game, and that's the 8-bit, 16-bit time travel. The 8-bit sprite work looks amazing, and the 16-bit art is just showing off at this point. The game opens up to a Metroidvania-esque game where you can search for music notes in a mostly non-linear fashion. You can get them in whatever order you want, but they do give you hints on how to get them in order. This is where we reach some pacing and level design issues. Because the music notes can be gotten in any order, the difficulty for each one is about the same. That coupled with the fact that it was taking a little while for the game to ramp up in difficulty to begin with, makes traveling back and forth with land tedious. There are some warp points, but I feel like there's a bit too little, and this is where the world design comes in. The game does an excellent job being like a Ninja Gaiden game, but not so much a Metroidvania. The world does have some connected parts, and you do learn new skills to travel the map, like in Metroidvanias, but it's not nearly as connected or as well thought out as other great Metroidvanias. And you can't really skip that much in terms of the places that you have already been in. I can use every skill in the book, and it'll still take me time to get from one place to another. I commend developers for trying to put as little warp points as possible, but the warp points ended up being a band-aid to a problem. I'm not saying that there are no cool places in the Messenger to go back to and explore. It's just that in the end, the non-linear parts seem a bit like filler. If you want to play a fun and new challenge, which the Messenger has plenty of, you have to go through a place you already beat and find it. I really wanted to get back to the platforming action, only feeling like I was not allowed yet. Having to backtrack and low difficulty spikes do slow down the game, but only by a little. If you get past that, there are amazing ninja-like platforming and reflex challenge sequences, test your reflexes, where you'll be amazed on the things that you are doing. There also doesn't seem to be one exact way to move about, so you always have many options to do, and there's always plenty of room for creativity. The Messenger is so well made that not long after playing will you slice and zip around its world. As for graphics and music, I would say that visually it looks amazing as far as 8 or 16-bit games go. Seeing the varying levels, locations, color palettes, and eras change, all happening in real time, makes it so that it's not just a nice picture to look at, but a dynamic area that is filled with life and history. The music, for the most part, is extremely catchy. It really makes you want to fly through the level as fast as possible or retry the boss while taking it down without getting hit. Again, the fact that there is an 8-bit version and a 16-bit version of each song is just showing off. The modeling of the music on the water is a nice touch too. The story and writing is hilarious. I was always joyed to find a new piece of dialogue, and the game does a good job of conveying to you what you are doing and its goal. It also pushes storytelling in a gaming way by keeping track of your progress. It knows when you are trying to bother an NPC, which is hilarious and charming. However, with that being said, I will only say this because of how good the writing and presentation is, that I feel that the game uses jokes a little too much. And I have no problem with humorous writing. It's just that it could have matched the stakes with the writing a little better. I won't set standards for the Messenger that I won't give a 30-year-old game, and that is treating this game with way more respect than I had before I started it. But there are some small complaints. Like I said before, the difficulty curve could be a bit steeper, and the shop does need some tweaks to avoid locking key techniques. The world is designed so well, but the enemy design is a bit bland. There are some enemies unique to a location, but for the most part it is heavily relied on the 3 specific enemy types, all of which are easy and not that rewarding to take out. The level design is somewhat incorporated with enemy design and layout, but in the end it's a bit too easy and doesn't mesh as well as it could. Lastly, one major criticism that Ninja Gaiden gets, as well as a lot of games from that era, is the respawning enemies. Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3 both solved that issue. But because The Messenger is a Metroidvania-esque game, it gets a small pass. But that just makes me wish that it either fleshes out the Metroidvania part of the game, or takes it out completely and makes it more of a pure action game. The Messenger is not just a blast from the past, and can stand on its own. It's fast, fun, and even a bit deep and humorous. I was really taken back that the creator in-game thanks and mentions Ninja Gaiden 2 by name, and I respect that completely. The DLC does address some issues, though not in a fundamental way. It does add enough to push this to an 8.5. If you would like to hear my thoughts on the DLC, Ninja Gaiden, or maybe something Charizard related, or whatever, let me know. Thank you.